By night, the streets of New Orleans belong to the jazz bands and the party crowds. By day, the prototypes control the avenues. Dan Gurney's Toyota team, with driver Juan Fangio, nephew and namesake of the great Fangio, have come to the Big Easy hoping to catch the cat. The ultra-quick Jaguar that has taken Davy Jones to 2 race wins and the series points lead. It's Grand Prix du Mardi Gras 2 next. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. New Orleans, Louisiana is the home of Jefferson Square and Bourbon Street. Today, the boulevards of the Big Easy are the site of Round 7 on the International Motorsports Association Camel GT Series. Today, from New Orleans, it's the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN road racing analyst Derek Daly. Welcome to our highlighted coverage of the IMSA Camel GT campaign. Today's race marks the midpoint of the 92 season. Davy Jones, with that all-conquering Jaguar, comes in with a handy 19-point lead over Juan Fangio, driving for Dan Gurney's All-American Racers Toyota team. In third place is your old teammate, Derek, Jeff Brabham. Just about the same position he was in last year before he charged from behind to an unprecedented 4th straight driver's title. All in all, we've got a great battle for the championship and a very difficult racetrack to do it on today.
It is a very difficult racetrack. We've raced at New Orleans before, but not here. This is a brand new design of racetrack. It runs around the Superdome. It's very bumpy here. Some of the drivers don't like it. We'll see later on just how badly these bumps do affect some of the cars. Just like any street circuit, it's lined with concrete, which means it's very difficult to pass. And if you make a small mistake, you can have dire consequences here.
It's always an adventure on a street circuit. We also had heavy rains the night before today's race, which washed off a lot of the rubber that these drivers count on for traction. If you were with us for our most recent round at Mid-Ohio, you heard Juan Fangio say in Victory Lane that he thought his team had a few tweaks in mind for his car. Well, they put those tweaks in, and whatever they are, they work, Derek. The car is flying, he's on pole, but he did have a scare this morning.
He did indeed, and those tweaks are working, as we can see by his pole position time. But one of the scares they had this morning, it was a water leak. Now, for a team that's chasing a championship, one of the most important things is to be able to cope with adversity. Well, adversity raised its head this morning for Team Toyota with a major water leak on Fangio's car. That gave the mechanics a thrash right after the warm-up to try and get a new engine put in that car. They did get it done. It is running, and IMSA actually gave them a hardship lap just to make sure everything was connected properly.
In fact, the engine in that car is the one that Fangio's teammate, P.J. Jones, used at Mid-Ohio. Here's Fangio with Marty Reed.
Sitting on the pole is Juan Manuel Fangio, but the big question mark, you guys had to change a motor after morning warm-up. What happened, and what's the new power plant like?
Well, it was, we lose some water, and so we decided it was safer to change the motor, go to a new one. The motor was still running, no problem, but you need to be safe, and that's what we did.
Confidence factor, is it still as high as it was after qualifying?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I had the possibility to do half a lap around the track, and it's all right.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Well, Juan Fangio, I better hope the car is all right. It is very hot, about 87 degrees, very humid. We are actually at sea level, and this course is very bumpy. Take us corner by corner, Derek.
We're inside the Norwegian Cruise Line's Buick Kudzu, driven by Fermin Velez. This is the chicane, which is turns 1 and 2, right after the pit straight. Now one of the very bumpy sections, which is turn 3. We'll now go around the Superdome. That's it on your left-hand side. This is one of the fast sweeping corners, turn 4. This is the longest straightaway, leading to a heavy braking area for turn 5. Again, a left-hander. Very bumpy here. Hard acceleration under the bridge. That's why we lose the signal. Now the first of the right-handers. Now we're onto the city streets and going around City Hall. This is the tightest corner on the racetrack, turn 7. Very hard acceleration. Just listen to the gear change. Turn 9, another left-hander. Short burst. And then back on to the front straightaway.
Poitras Street, if you're familiar with the New Orleans area, serves as both start-finish straightaway and pit straight here at the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras. Now, the car you just saw with Fermin Velez and Andy Evans driving is going to be an interesting story in this race. They're starting from the very pack of the grid. Once again, here's Marty.
Take my word for it, it is a long walk from the front row all the way back to the back of the field in an unfamiliar position for the Scandia team. Fermin Velez did not be able to qualify. If you find yourself absolutely dead last in this field and oppressive heat, what's going through your mind as far as strategy?
Well, this is an important race for us because our sponsor, Norwegian Cruise Lines, is having a big thing here. So, and unfortunately, we have to start on the back of the grid. But I'll try to pass the cars I have in front as fast as I can because I don't want the Acura just go away. I try to keep, try to get Parker before he goes away, and so I'll do my best.
You heard Fermin Velez mention Parker Johnstone, the two-time defending class champion. It should be a great battle. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras from New Orleans is brought to you by Toyo Tires. No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z. Toyo Tires. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
Hi. You know why Quaker State asked me to be their spokesman? Because I'm tough. Quaker State is tough. Tough on wear and tough on sludge. If you use Quaker State in your new car's engine, they'll guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. Quaker State is one tough motor oil. So naturally they asked me because I'm tough. You don't think it's because they think I'm oily?
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
Which publication tells you about hundreds of great jobs open across the country right now? High-paying professional, managerial, and technical jobs. The National Business Employment Weekly. Which publication helps you land one of those jobs with articles on how to sharpen your resume, how to shine in interviews, how to market yourself. The National Business Employment Weekly. Which publication helps you do better after you land a great job? Get along with your boss, get a raise, get promoted. The National Business Employment Weekly, published by the Wall Street Journal. It's all you need besides your own ability to land and do well in the kind of job you've been looking for, in a part of the country you'll enjoy at a salary you can be proud of. It's all you need. Get the National Business Employment Weekly at your newsstand, or order by credit card and get 8 issues by first-class mail for $35. Call 800-372-3000. 800-372-3000. The National Business Employment Weekly. Don't make a career move without it.
Back in New Orleans, Bob Barsha, Derek Daly, and Marty Reed with you as the field is set on its way as we prepare for the green flag at the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras. You see that crack running down the middle of the street, just one of the many dangers of street racing. These are workaday streets. They are dirty. They do not have the rubber built up that these racers will count on. Now here's a look at our Sears Die Hard starting grid. On pole for the second time this year, a record lap at over 83 miles an hour for Juan Fangio. Next to him, Davy Jones, the points leader in the Jaguar XJR 14. On row 2, Jeff Brabham in the Nissan NPT 91B. And next to him, just 23 years old in his first full season of GTP racing, David Tennyson in a Chevy Spice. On row 3, P.J. Jones, son of Parnelli, teammate of Juan Fangio in another Toyota. Next to him, Tommy Kendall in a Chevrolet GTP, last year's winning team. On row 4, Bryce Cobb in one of the new Mazda RX 792P rotary-powered cars. Next to him, Oscar Leroy, who'll be sharing with German John Winter in a Porsche 962. On row 5, Pete Halsmer, Cobb's teammate with the new Mazda GTP team. Next to him, Jeff Perner in last year's winning car, a V8 Chevrolet GTP. On row 6 will be Parker Johnstone, the only pole sitter in Camel Lights competition this year in an Acura-powered Spice. Next to him, Charles Morgan will start off, Tommy Riggins to follow in a Buick DG2. Tim McAdam will lead off for Jim Downing, three-time former champion in the class with a Buick-powered car. Next to him on row 7, Gian Piero Moretti sharing with John Paul Jr. in a Porsche. On row 8 will be Bob Shader sharing with Tom Hessard in another Buick Spice Camel Lights car. Next to them, the similar machine of David Roca and Mark Rodriguez. On row 9, Hugh Fuller will go with solo in a Chevrolet GTP. Next to him will be Carlos Bobeda and Paul Devon in a Buick Spice Camel Lights car. And all alone on the final row, Fermin Velez carrying our onboard camera. No qualifying time, so he starts from the very back with teammate Andy Evans, and they will be someone to watch moving through the field. Here's the look from Fermin Velez's car with all 18 other starters ahead of him.
And it will definitely be a traffic jam in front of Velez at the start of this race because they're so tightly bunched between these concrete walls. It's very difficult to move, but remember, he said he wants to get by the cars as soon as possible.
And he is a former world champion in this class of cars. He knows how to get it done. Back on Poydras Street, Jim Sidley has the green flag out. We are underway. Davy Jones on the left, Juan Fangio on the right. Behind them, Brabham, and Jones goes straight on at the first corner. Brabham stops as well, and the field goes by.
Davy Jones was on the outside of the Toyota driven by Fangio, and I didn't see the brakes lock up, but realized way too late that he was not going to make that corner, and he actually took the safe escape route, and he brought Jeff Brabham with him, unbelievably.
And just like that, Fermin Velez is no longer the last man in the field. P.J. Jones goes around David Tennyson to make it a Toyota 1-2. Fangio and number 99 in white. Look at the gap. He opens up over his teammate right off the bat.
And we mentioned in the opening how bumpy this racetrack is. There's a good example of it there. Under heavy braking, these cars bob and weave so aggressively. And now Davy Jones is the last man running on the racetrack as we watch this opening lap.
And he will be driving with a head full of anger. Now here's another look. Jones on the left. Looks like he had room to turn in, but he just elected not to.
Realizes he couldn't make it, but look what happened Brabham. He couldn't turn in because David Tennyson actually slid down the inside, so he may have been one of the reasons why Brabham had to take the safe route also.
Cars begin to bunch up behind the leaders. There's Oscar Larari and Pete Halsmer. Up front, Toyota, Fangio, Toyota, Jones, and then David Tennyson and Bryce Cobb, Tommy Kendall, Larari, and Halsmer. Fermin Velez has already passed 2 cars on the first lap.
13th place we see there from the graphic. We can hear his gear changes. He passed 6 cars on the opening lap. This is the very fast left-right chicane. Now you can hear the hard power as he changes gear. Quick flick to the left here. You see the brake lights of the car just ahead of him. He's very anxious. That's another Buick car. And yes, he slides down the inside, makes another pass.
Here he comes. On the left is the yellow car of Tim McAdam. Velez goes by. That's right, I forgot. Davy Jones and Jeff Brabham were passed by Velez on that first lap as well. Here's the battle in the lights. There goes Parker Johnstone, then one of the P cars.
Already Velez is running 3rd in the Camel Lights. And look what he just did. He passed a GTP car. That was Moretti's Momo Porsche 962. Now these Camel Light cars are very light, they're very nimble around a very tight, bumpy street circuit that we race on today.
Here comes Fangio. Amazing that the Toyotas are running 1-2. 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, the Jaguar was the class of the field. Nearly lapped these Toyotas. In fact, they did lap P.J. Jones. They were not able to catch Fangio. Now here comes the battle in Camel Lights. Smaller, less powerful prototypes, but they always provide great racing. There is Fermin Velez, 3rd in class of the 7 cars.
3rd in class, but they're all in line there. That's the other Buick Kudzu right ahead of him, and then Parker Johnstone in the Acura is only 2 cars ahead of Velez. So the Norwegian Cruise Line car really having a good run.
Sun obscured by a little bit of cloud. That'll help these drivers. There goes the white and orange car of Johnstone. And there is Jeff Brabham in the blue and red Nissan making his way back up through the field. Brabham dropped back to 16th place, but he is passing cars left, right, and center.
Now he's all over the back of Velez, so Brabham has to be very careful trying to pass the lights cars as well as the GTPs.
Brabham is up to 11th. Fangio leads. We'll be right back.
Some people say it's impossible to tell where the flesh and blood stops the machine begins. But it really doesn't matter. Because whenever you put Iron Mans to it, together with a Toyota truck, you know where they're gonna finish.
It's a voyage of technological artistry, created through scientific thought, designed on a space-aged canvas, producing a manufacturing phenomenon. It's the Soloflex muscle machine. Call now and take your body on an incredible voyage to renewed beauty. Soloflex, 21st century design for today's needs.
There's a storm brewing on ESPN. Saturday Night Thunder. ESPN Speed Week rolls in to start off a night of lightning quick action. Then it's the radical and the ruthless. And the rumble-tumble excitement of live USAC midgets and sprints. Saturday Night Thunder strikes again on ESPN.
Back at New Orleans, Juan Fangio leads his Toyota teammate P.J. Jones at the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras. And here is a change in the leadership in the Camel Lights class. Charles Morgan from Conway, Arkansas, gets around Parker Johnstone.
And we see Brabham sneaks up behind Johnstone. Johnstone not having a good afternoon. In fact, he has had a lot of struggles all weekend here. That car is not to his liking. Now he's probably going to have to move over, let Brabham through, because he realizes he can only lose time for himself and Brabham, and he does. In fact, makes it nice and easy. The power of the GTP car shows, and Brabham gains yet another position on the field, not on the GTP class.
There is Charles Morgan, who has had a victory in each of the last 7 seasons in a row, hoping to tie the all-time IMSA record of 8 seasons with at least 1 victory. There is your leader. There's the gap to second place. Here comes the third place car, and it's a battle between the Denon Chevrolet Spice of David Tennyson and Price Cobb in the Mazda. Now Jeff Brabham takes the lights leader.
You'll notice that Brabham is in the number 84 car, which is normally Chip Robinson's car. After the terrible disaster at Road Atlanta, Nissan just run 1 car now, so Brabham has a choice of 83 or 84. Robinson is here, but he's not driving, with the 84 car for the first time this year being driven by Brabham.
David Tennyson, there is Price Cobb in that brand new Mazda. They had so much trouble getting that new prototype off the ground. 4 races before they were able to get out and turn a wheel in competition. It is a wonderful piece of machinery. 4-rotor rotary engine. Here comes that battle for third. Behind the 98 Toyota of P.J. Jones, Tennyson, Cobb in the silver car looks down the inside, but he can't get it done.
And it's a risky move to try and sneak down the inside on these street circuits. You better make sure you're absolutely alongside somebody. But Price Cobb, the ever-aggressive driver from Colorado, driving this nice, light, nimble little Mazda.
Now here comes the number 2 of Davy Jones, who was well back in the field, 19th after that first corner off, now up to 13th, and he won't be there long. He starts passing lights machines. First Tim McAdam.
And
now
sparks fly from underneath that car as the rubbing strips on the bottom of the chassis hit the ground. They run this car so low to the ground. Just look what he does as he slices past the Camel Light cars. Davy Jones, very aggressive after a terrible mistake on the opening lap.
There's the view Fermin Velez has of Davy Jones just ahead. Interesting that this Jaguar was modeled on the car that won the World Championship last year, a car built for the wide-open, smooth circuits of Europe, absolutely overpowering here on bumpy American street circuits.
And there is no doubt the European racetracks are completely different in character and in build than the ones here in America. These circuits here are much, much more difficult to drive around because they're very, very bumpy, and very often they tend to break cars that were specifically designed for European and World Championship racing.
There is Juan Fangio, no trace of any mechanical difficulties after that scare in the morning warm-up when a water leak put him in the garage for the duration.
This is a car designed by John Ward. John Ward, very famous for the Eagles that he designed in the past, and now he's doing an excellent job for Toyota. One of the changes they've made for here is a complete new cooling package, which has been an advantage on this car as we watch the number 9 Camel Light car, which is the Shader Hessert car, a Buick Spice, and they look as if they are in major league trouble.
Bob Shader started that car. Doesn't look as though he hit anything, but it is parked as the rest of the race continues.
This is a good battle here. Still a third place battle. That's the Spice driven by David Tennyson. A good job by David Tennyson in his first season of GTP racing. But Bob Shader realizes his day is well and truly over. He's out of the car and over the fence.
Now the battle for third tightens up further. David Tennyson with Bryce Cobb all over him. Just behind them, Oscar Larari in a Porsche.
Oh, look at Larari slides down the inside of the Mazda, takes a big chance under braking. This is the old Porsche 962. Still some good competitive running in this, but the 99 car now backing up a little bit. Our P.J. Jones actually closing down the gap.
Oscar Larari now closes in on David Tennyson. Larari is fourth, Tennyson is third. A couple of Camel Lights machines just ahead. Traffic always a factor in street race passing.
Look at Larari, takes a nice wide line, looks to be very anxious to make a pass on Tennyson. This is one of the Argentinian drivers, came from Formula One to here, really wanted to make a career for himself in F1, is a very, very aggressive driver, and David Tennyson will have his work cut out for him to hold him back.
One of the bravest drivers you'll ever meet as Larari goes down the inside, heading for the left-hander, and takes third place from David Tennyson. I'm not saying he's brave only because he likes to make daring moves on the racetrack. He once tangled with A.J. Foyt in West Palm Beach, Florida in an IMSA race, got out of the car and called A.J. stupid. That is a brave man.
That is a brave man. Notice what Tennyson did. When he saw him come down the inside, Tennyson avoided him. He moved to the right to let him have all the room he needed.
The Applebee's balloon floats overhead. We'll be right back as Juan Fangio leads in New Orleans.
Have you ever created or invented a product? Don't just let it sit there. Do something about it. You can start by calling the Inventors Helpline in Washington, D.C. at 800-227-7000. You'll receive free confidential forms and useful information describing the invention process. And when you call right now, you'll also receive a free brochure which tells you how to begin to develop your new idea. So get the ball rolling. Pick up your phone right now and call for your free Inventor's Kit.
Call 800-227-7000.
Excuse me, do you know what stock options are?
I wish I did.
The information you should know is in the Wall Street Journal's video guide to money and markets. This exclusive 30-minute video is free. When you call for 13 weeks of the journal for just $37, that's over 20% off the newsstand price.
Call toll-free 800-832-8700 for 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and your free video on money and markets. That's 800-832-8700.
Can Alan Kulwicki do it twice in 1 year in the Poconos? He's shooting for his second consecutive win at the Pocono International Raceway, NASCAR's most competitive super speedway. The Pocono 500, Sunday, live on ESPN.
Back on the streets of New Orleans, I want to tell you, we have a heck of a race going. There is Fermin Velez, who has come blazing through this field from dead last. He is now the third-place car in the Camel Lights class, and look how close he sits to that wheel, Derek.
That really is amazing. Great in-car camera shots here of the driver actually working, doing his day's work, but really, his elbows are bent incredibly. I mean, almost looks a NASCAR-type position, but look at the blue smoke flies up from the Acura as Velez is all over Parker Johnstone.
Johnstone's been having handling problems all weekend with that Acura Spice. And now Velez on the 44. Paint job by noted motorsports artist Randy Owens is right there.
And when you see blue smoke begin to come up from the car that you're chasing, it gives you a good feel because he slides down the inside. Is he going to make it? Yes, he does. Gets into the apex, does all the little corrections, and takes the position away from Parker Johnstone.
So the order in lights is now Buick, Acura, and speaking of 1-2, here come the Toyota pair, Fangio and Jones, the overall leaders in the race.
Back inside, Fermin Velez's Buick Kudzu. You see the yellow flag there, yellow and red, in fact, which denotes oil on the racetrack. However, Velez did not even lift.
Around City Hall in the shade of the trees, then back out onto Poydras Street. Start-finish straightaway here in New Orleans. Jeff Perner in last year's winning car. He's obviously got problems with that big 6-liter Chevy V8, getting passed by one of the Camel Lights cars.
Concrete walls everywhere, left and right. You move over to the right side, then back, switch back. These concrete walls are so difficult if you get close to them, but look what happens here.
These guys haven't been any further apart than this all day. The 7 of Larari, followed by Tennyson and Bryce Cobb. Battle for third place.
Great experience here for David Tennyson following Lowry in that 962, but also having such intense pressure from behind from Bryce Cobb.
It's always great to see 3 cars in line battling. There is so much more strategy at work than just 2 cars. Now down the inside comes Cobb, taking 4th place away from Tennyson.
Exactly the same move as Lowry pulled earlier on. The Mazda, you can actually hear the Mazda's tire squeal as he goes through some of these corners. But look what happens here. Cobb comes down the inside to protect that position and stop David Tennyson from making a legitimate passing attempt.
Bryce Cobb cannot afford a mistake. There you see the young man, a great fan of motorcycles. And we thought Perner had a problem. He's now in the pits. Here's Marty.
The number 4 Appleby Chevrolet GTP, Jeff Perner at the wheel, is in for an unscheduled stop. Jeff is telling the crew that the car is pushing badly, so they are going to make an adjustment in the front end and also change rubber all the way around. They'll top off the fuel tank. He'll still have to make one more stop. You can see him in there. He is shaking his head. He is not happy with the handling of this car. So they're trying to make a final adjustment, cleaning off the windshield. Perner will be getting back to the action.
Notice the mechanic, when in doubt, if the rag isn't working on a windshield, use your sleeve.
So Jeff Perner having handling problems, it said, is pushing, which means he cannot turn the car into these very tight corners.
Now wait a minute, there at the front of the car is IMSA pit steward Bob Raymond. He is holding Jeff Perner in the pits. Now I understand it's because his fueler did not have his safety goggles on. That'll cost him 10 seconds, and now it's stalled.
Frustration time for a driver when you get a penalty like that. You're ready to go on to the racetrack to race, and the IMSA official stands in front of you and says, no way, not yet.
Says something about the courage of the official, too. There is Juan Fangio in the Toyota, and you can see the lead that he has built up. P.J. Jones nowhere in sight.
A commanding lead now for Fangio. P.J. Jones, though, has really been impressive so far today. P.J. Jones has probably had more than his fair share of bad luck, but now look what's happening. Smoke out of the back of the engine, so PJ might be about to have another dose of bad luck this afternoon.
And there's the gap to the 3rd place Porsche.
Bryce Cobb has closed up. Remember that 962 driven by Lowry pulled away while Bryce Cobb tried to pass David Tennyson, but that Mazda is running fast on the streets here. He has closed that gap, clawed his way up. Oh, mistake by Lowry. See how wide he went? That's given Bryce Cobb the little bit of room he needed.
And you don't give Bryce Cobb an opening like that, right down the inside in that Mazda. Great comparison of 2 different mechanical styles here. The 4-rotor Mazda, the flat 3-liter 6-cylinder Porsche, David Tennyson in that big 6-liter Chevy, and then the lights cars. Now here comes Fermin Velez, just behind him the red, white, and blue number 84 of Jeff Brabham.
Traffic jam of Buick, Nissan, and 2 Chevrolets, but Brabham still clawing his way up from that first lap mistake, overtaking GTP cars, and now more in-car camera shots. Oh, there's Brabham, slices by the Buick Kudzu of Velez. So Brabham now takes another position on the road, though. Remember, he's still chasing the GTP leaders.
There have been 33 IMSA street races. Jeff Brabham has won 7 of them. He is the master of the streets, and he is not through yet.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
It's wild out there. You need a jungle fighter on your side. That's why more and more people choose Toyo tires, the jungle fighters. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
On a warm, humid day in New Orleans, the leader of the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras is Juan Manuel Fangio in the number 99 Toyota, going around the lap car of Carlos Bobeda.
And flames shoot out the back of that Toyota on the overrun, but Davy Jones now closing in on one of the Mazdas. So Jones still slicing his way through.
At the beginning of this race, Jones misjudged the first corner and went off. Behind him, Jeff Brabham did likewise. They went to the back of the field. They have been rocketing back through, going around Pete Halsmer. Davy Jones making his way up into the top 10.
And again, this is one of the few braking areas, our passing zones here. Again, we see Jones, the car rubs the ground, sparks fly off the bottom from those rubbing strips. So Jones treating this car very aggressively, very roughly, but you have to do that to be successful on street circuits, particularly when you give everybody else such a huge lead at the start.
Davy Jones now running in 8th place, having demoted Pete Halsmer to 9th. Jones will be looking ahead to Tommy Kendall. There goes Jeff Brabham. Here comes the 45 of our Camel Lights leader, Charles Morgan. Then the number 44 sister car of Fermin Velez. Then Kendall and Jones.
Now, Brabham is embroiled in a battle with traffic here, but Jones certainly on the road. Look at the way those cars bob and weave and bounce over these bumps on these street circuits. But Jones definitely seems to be catching Brabham on the road.
Tommy Kendall just ahead of Davy Jones in 7th place. Jones looks down the inside, can't get it done there. There's another car just ahead. Now here is the battle for 3rd place. Oscar Larari leading David Tennyson.
And this is the old Porsche flat 6 engine in that 962 versus the good old American V8. And this is the development of the Cosworth V8, a racing engine that now becomes the Jaguar.
You saw Fermin Velez looking in his mirrors. That's why Tommy Kendall going by on the left. Jaguar is already passed, however. Davy Jones is now up into 7th place.
And you can see Kendall, a little dab of the brakes there before he got to the apex. He was on and off the brakes and then back up hard on the power again. But you mentioned earlier, we talked about his injuries. He still suffers from those savage injuries from that crash at Watkins Glen last year.
David Tennyson from Ontario, Canada, on one of the strongest learning curves in motorsports. Drove 2 seasons in the Camel Lights class, was once voted the most improved driver in the class. Now he is handling 725 horsepower of Chevrolet. And right now he's got his sights on Oscar Larari.
And there is so much action here at every turn that we look at. We're going to jump around a bit here. Now we're back with Larari, the old Porsche 962 flat 6, and David Tennyson with that Chevrolet power slices down the outside to make that pass on Oscar Larari.
Tremendous torque in that normally aspirated small block Chevy engine. He just launches off that corner. Whoops, Pete Halsmer in the Mazda. He's got a problem.
We see something in the radiator inlet at the front. We don't know whether that's the cause of his problems or not, but now we're back with Brabham trying to slide down, and he makes it down the inside of Larari for another position loss for Larari in the 962.
And not much of a fight from Larari. I wonder if there's anything wrong with that Porsche as he sweeps down the pit straightaway there.
Well, that's a signal. That definitely is a signal to his pit man that something is wrong.
So we may have 2 damaged cars on the track. Oh, but not that damaged. That's Pete Halsmer, who was limping around the racetrack before. He has obviously hit or been hit.
And it's hard to see what's wrong with the car immediately. The rear bodywork has come loose somehow. There's broken pieces of motor car on the racetrack. There's our leader, has to turn left. Remember, he doesn't want to run over debris in case he gets a possible puncture.
Now here is his teammate, Bryce Cobb, in the sister Mazda. The 2 teammates have evidently come together.
Heavy damage on Cobb's car. You can see that up the front, down the side of the rear bodywork also. So Bryce Cobb, heavy damage. He has definitely hit somebody very hard.
What a disappointment for this team. Cobb was running in 3rd place when he evidently had this accident with Halsmer. The 2 teammates came together right here on ESPN at Lime Rock, Connecticut when they sideswiped each other, but this looks a lot more serious. Front bodywork has come off, rear bodywork has come off.
And we saw Halsmer running very slowly earlier, but we don't know yet what happened, but obviously he's been hit by Bryce Cobb.
Let's get down to the pit lane. Marty Reed is standing by in the Mazda pit.
Bryce, can you tell me what happened?
I had a wreck with my teammate. That's it.
That's it? Obviously not happy. Bryce Cobb coming together with teammate Pete Halsmer out on the course.
Well, a little anger and perhaps embarrassment in Bryce Cobb's voice. We're going to get a full course caution, and the Jaguars in the pits. Here's Marty.
The Bud Light Jag and Davy Jones in for what is his routine stop. Now, they said they could go the distance and would try and take advantage early since they had the horrendous spin at the beginning of the race. So now, Davey keeping the R's up on this car, and the lead, Toyota, just comes in right behind us. So the strategy is really starting to play, and here goes Davey.
Strategy is right, Marty. Derek Daly, I think what they were trying to do was get Davey in and out ahead of the pace car, but there you see that Juan Fangio is in. I think Dan Gurney may have thwarted the Jaguar team's tactics there. You see the pit marshal, Sue DeWeaver, telling them to let Davey on out, lest he go a lap down, when what he actually tried to do was go a lap up on the race leader.
Right, little bit of miscommunication there, particularly at the end of that pit stop when the officials were holding up Davy Jones. But however, it didn't work for Jones, and the Toyota still now has a more commanding lead than ever.
Well, he'll pull up behind the safety car, making its way around this 1.43-mile circuit, and Davy Jones will try to close up behind him. We'll be back to get things restarted at the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras. We'll take a quick time out and leave you with this little touch of New Orleans ambiance. Who are they kidding? No food or drink allowed.
Do you know that watching tropical fish can help lower your blood pressure? That it's possible to stop a migraine headache just by repeating one soothing word? It's true. Your mind does have the power to heal your body. Hi, I'm Russ Wild, senior editor of Prevention Magazine Health Books. Now you can learn how to release the tremendous healing power that's locked inside you. It's all here in the complete guide to your emotions and your health. Over 650 pages of proven natural healing techniques, covering everything from allergies to arthritis.
Call now for the complete guide to your emotions and your health. Try it absolutely free for 21 days. Then if you choose to keep it, pay in just 3 easy installments of only $8.99. Plus, you'll get this relaxing Stress Busters audio cassette as a free gift.
Remember, you can try the complete guide to your emotions and your health free for 21 days. So call now.
Call 1-800-525-7800. 1-800-525-7800.
The stars are out in San Diego. First, it's a special All-Star edition of ESPN SportsCenter. Then, perennial All-Stars Barry Bonds and Cal Ripken will answer your calls on Chap Talk. Up next, a special Baseball Tonight roundtable previews the upcoming pennant chase. Then, see the legends of the game at the Upper Deck Heroes of Baseball All-Star Game. And it all wraps up with baseball's All-Star Gala. All on All-Star Monday on ESPN.
The magnificent Superdome looms on the horizon as the Grand Prix du Mardi Gras is under caution. Bob Varsha, Derek Daly, and Marty Reed with you. Contact between both members of the Mazda team, Pete Halsmer and Bryce Cobb, have brought about this yellow flag. Now David Tennyson comes into the pits. Here's Marty Reed.
Plenty of time for the Denon team to get the Chevrolet GTP back out on the race course. David Tennyson in one of his best performances of the year so far in the Chevy, bringing it in 5th place. As they go to work, they'll change all 4 tires, put a full load of fuel on, and you can see just down from this position, the number 84 Nissan, Jeff Brabham brings it in, and again, full 4-tire stop with a full load of gas, and they are going to be back underway. And yes, the Spice is still sitting there, and it looks like they're taking a little bit longer than they want to, and he almost stalls the car. He's got it underway, Bob.
Like a pro stock dragster, he does, leaving big tire tracks down the lane. Now there you see the 2nd place car in the Camel Lights class, Fermin Velez, carrying our onboard camera with the door open to get a breath of fresh air into the car, Derek.
It's 90 degrees and very, very humid here, and this makes it very difficult for the drivers because there's so little airflow inside these race cars.
We've mentioned there are 2 classes in competition today, and both the GT prototypes and the Camel Lights feature a variety of engines and chassis styles. It's IMSA's job to keep them all competitive, one with another. Marty Reed has more on how they do it in a Track Fact. Track Facts are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
To understand IMSA's power-to-weight ratio, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, but it sure would help. See, the theory is that you try and cultivate each ratio based on the pounds per 1 horsepower. Well, this is the car that's got everybody screaming right now, the Jag XJR14. Now, this is the list of the 6 top manufacturers listing engine size and weight. To narrow it down, let's look at the Chevrolet GTP first. It generates 725 horsepower, and IMSA has determined the car should carry 1,800 pounds. Now, the problem arises when you realize the Chevy is a 6.5-liter normally aspirated V8. At the other end of the spectrum is the 2.1-liter single-turbo four-cylinder of the Toyota. It generates 725 horsepower, but it's a smaller engine. But because of the formula, it carries 1,828 pounds. That's more than the Chevy. Now, the current controversy surrounds the Jaguar XJR14. The 3.5-liter normally aspirated V8 reportedly gets somewhere between 700 and 725 horsepower. It was first allowed to carry 1,650 pounds. IMSA has since added 50 more, but that still leaves the Jag the lightest car in the field, and IMSA with a never-ending headache. Because every time they adjust the formula, the engine builders just go out and find more horsepower.
Well, you couldn't be righter, Marty. It's always controversial. Everybody complains about whatever weight they are running at. In fact, the Jaguar is supposedly a little bit overweight, so that extra 50 pounds they're carrying is realistically about 20 pounds, according to the Jaguar's critics, because it was a little bit to the pudge in the first place. Tommy Kendall is on the pit lane, and here's Marty with one of the Camel Lights cars.
And in comes Charles Morgan with the Scandia, Norwegian Cruise Line's Buick Kudzu. Now, Charlie will climb out. Tommy Riggins will climb in. This team has really been coming on strong, finishing second in Mid-Ohio last week. Riggins putting the seat addition in with the full course yellow. It's still in effect. He can take his time, get himself situated. The team goes to work on the car.
They are the leaders in Camel Lights. Meanwhile, here's the fifth-place car overall, Tommy Kendall. With the Jim Miller team that won this race 1 year ago, he's having problems with his feet feeling the pedals since his big leg injuries at Watkins Glen a year ago. There you see Tommy Riggins buckling in. A new two-tier rear wing on these Buick DG2 Kudzu chassis, designed by Sam Garrett in Atlanta, Georgia.
And you'll notice that there are driver changes only in the Camel Lights division. It is a regulation. You must use two drivers in the Camel Lights division.
Fermin Velez has not yet pitted. He's still got the door open.